Hey! You know, if you did not get that intro, this episode may not be for you, but hang around. It could be for someone you know very, very dearly. Today's episode, we're talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for seniors. Why? Well, because just recently I was talking with some seniors and they were asking me, is it okay to just have Bitcoin, or do I need to buy some of those other coins you talk about on your channel all the time? So today's episode, we're going to give a brief overview about Bitcoin, the who, what, where, when, why, how. And also, we're going to talk about should you buy Bitcoin versus some of the other altcoins, and if the other ones, which ones in particular. You'll definitely want to stay tuned. What's up, everyone? Randall here from Crypto Love. Today's video, we are talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies for seniors because, like it or not, Bitcoin and crypto, it's hitting mass adoption. We're having commercials all the time with the likes of Matt Damon and other popular Tom Brady talking about trading crypto, Bitcoin. Guess what? It's becoming mainstream, and before long, everybody's going to be using it. You remember before everybody was using Facebook? I do. Well, guess what? Now everybody uses Facebook except for the young kids because they're too hip for it. Well, today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, everything about it very briefly. You could clearly take all day to cover this stuff in an episode. And then at the end, answer some questions for you, like, is it for you? And if it is for you, is it just Bitcoin for you? And, or is it altcoins as well? So, let's get into it, guys. Welcome to the channel. By the way, like, subscribe, click the notification bell if you haven't. You can also come join us over on Twitter at @TheCryptoLove, where every week we give away one of these sweet shirts. Now, the purpose of today's video, we're going to be answering a few questions. The who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how. So, who created Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? Where is Bitcoin? When was Bitcoin created? Why was Bitcoin created? And why should I trust Bitcoin? That's a big one. And how can I buy safely if I choose to do so? And I should just preface this with saying I am not a financial advisor, and I'm not giving you financial advice. I will tell you right here at the beginning, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are extremely risky, okay? Not only because they are technically one of the riskiest asset classes, but they're one of the easiest asset classes to trick you out of by using phishing and other types of things. So I'll be going into that briefly later, but you just need to be careful. And if you're ready to learn a little bit more, let's dive into it. So to begin with, who created Bitcoin? Well, the creator of Bitcoin is a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto that you can see up here. He wrote the Bitcoin white paper, and we don't know who he is. Now, there was speculation a while back, especially after this article from Newsweek you can see right here, where this guy right here, Dorian Nakamoto, is Satoshi Nakamoto. But it turns out he was not Satoshi Nakamoto, and as a matter of fact, the Newsweek article hurt his family. So that's not great. Now, there's a lot of other suspects about who Bitcoin is, but after over a decade of Bitcoin being around, we still don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. We definitely know who it's not. Definitely not Dorian Nakamoto. Definitely not Craig Wright. But as of right yet, we don't know who the creator is. Now, is this good or is this bad? Well, I would say it's actually good. Because guess what? If we knew who the creator of Bitcoin is, well, one of these big muscly governments, I'm not going to name names, but maybe like some group of states who get together, well, they could strong arm somebody into giving up ownership rights of it potentially. But since they can't do that, well, it's pretty much decentralized. And so it will do whatever it wants to do because it is a platform as opposed to something owned by a single entity. Now, that being said, what is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin's a lot of things. It is a new form of money. It's a new way of thinking. It's a brand new technology. But on one of the simplest ways of looking at it, aside from the technology that it gives us, I think one of the easiest things it is a new form of money, a new way of looking at it. Because a lot of people right now, especially as the price goes up, they buy it to make money. They say they're in it for the technology, but really they buy it for the money. And why is it new money? Well, you see, each iteration of money gets easier to use. Started out with the barter system, where if you wanted something, you had to trade somebody something they wanted in order to be able to get something you want. And sometimes that could be difficult to do. Then they started using shells and then minted coins, but the minted coins changed wherever you went. Then there was the gold standard because, hey, gold's the same pretty much everywhere. Then we had the Bretton Woods system for a while, and then coming towards today's age, we had some fiat and now cryptocurrency. Now, why is cryptocurrency easier? Because you can send money across the entire world instantaneously for almost zero fees. Try doing that at a bank. You just can't. Not only that, but it basically eliminates the needs for banks. I know, mind blown, but it does. It's kind of like how you don't need Blockbuster video anymore because we have streaming video online. You don't even need to leave your house. You can watch whatever movie you want, and you don't have to go to Blockbuster. That's why they went out of business, the same as fiat could potentially have some troubles in the near future. Now, where is Bitcoin? And this is one that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around. Bitcoin is, say like everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It's basically located on a bunch of computers all around the world. As a matter of fact, this picture here is from 2017, so it has changed a lot. But these are where the global Bitcoin nodes are located. So a lot of them in the United States, a lot of them in Europe. And then the rest of the world, there are certainly some places like Australia, some in South America, some in Africa, some in China, all over. But this is basically the representation of Bitcoin nodes around the world. Now, what are these nodes? Well, they can be pretty powerful computers. At the beginning, it was much easier, but now you need a very strong computer. As of right now, you need a specifically designed computer just to be able to mine Bitcoin. But this is not something that really anybody will do anymore. Mostly it's mining companies that do that. And as a matter of fact, right now, Bitcoin is one of the greenest industries out there, using things like hydropower, using volcano power, and other types of green energies to mine Bitcoin. So, that's where is Bitcoin. Now, when was Bitcoin created? And this is really important because Bitcoin was created back here right around this time, back around January 3rd, 2009, the Genesis block of Bitcoin has this actually written in the first block of the blockchain, which is just each block holds information on it, and that information is transactions. And there's one block after another block, and using the block that you have right now, you can verify the previous block. So basically, people can't trick you into thinking that there's another transaction that happened. Well, on there was this headline right here: Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Now, why this? Because there was a lot of banking scandal going on in the world. I'm not sure if you remember the whole housing collapse that basically collapsed the economy for multiple years. And really, they didn't patch it up too well. And we're starting to see the second part of it coming on right now with a lot of money printing and different things like that. Well, that was when Bitcoin was started. So it's over a decade old right now. And that brings us to the next question. Why was Bitcoin created? Well, it was to help protect people. The people's currency, it was called. It was to help protect the people against financial scandals. And if we take a look at some of these scandals, you might have lived through some of these scandals because they affected you guys a lot more than they affected younger generations. Things like the Enron scandal, the WorldCom scandal, the Tyco scandal, the Freddie Mac scandal, the Lehman Brothers scandal. All of these are scandals that went on because the books were not publicly available. And so we had a lot of shady practices going on. But the cool thing about blockchain is it's available for everybody to see. As a matter of fact, another reason that Bitcoin is around is because it completely eliminates the need for banks. In case you didn't know, banks made over $11 billion in overdraft fees in 2019. Those are fees from just letting you use money that you don't have, which they could clearly not do, but they're like, hey, we can just make more money from our customers. And clearly, banks are out there to make as much money from their customers as possible. And really, is your bank giving you that high quality service? I doubt it. So when we have superior technology that allows you to do the same thing that a bank could do without having to pay them absurd fees and trust a third party with your money, well, it makes it pretty darn good. So next, why should you trust Bitcoin? Well, the first thing I will say is that Bitcoin has been around for over 10 years. The source code, which means the computer program that runs Bitcoin, is freely available for anyone to take a look at, to try and hack. And guess what? Over 10 years, still hasn't happened, which is pretty darn good. Not only that, but if we take a look at the Bitcoin risk-adjusted returns versus other assets, Bitcoin is this orange line here. For pretty much all of its history until a recent drop-off just recently over the past few months, Bitcoin has been the top coin for the highest returns with the least adjusted risk, which is pretty awesome. Other things that we have here, like US stocks, gold, US real estate, emerging currencies, bonds, all well below Bitcoin. The only one that, as of right now, has increased above Bitcoin is US stocks, potentially because of government buying stocks right now to help prop up the economy. But we'll see how long that holds out for. Now, that brings us to how can you buy Bitcoin? And before we get into this, this is really something that I guess presupposes that you should buy Bitcoin. And I would say, should you buy Bitcoin? Probably not until you understand it. So if you don't understand what Bitcoin is, you should probably take some more time, ask some questions to your younger relatives about Bitcoins, find out what they think about it. And then if it is something that's for you, yes, buy it. Because Bitcoin is a great hedge against financial scandal from corporations, but also from governments. In case you haven't heard about it, governments are printing a lot of money right now. Well, how about a government agnostic currency that is almost like a stable coin against government fiat currencies? Well, that's something like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So if it is something that you're interested in buying, well, there's a few ways to do it. I would say the easiest way, and this would probably be the best, because like I said, this is dangerous, because these transactions, you can't return them. So if you make a wrong transaction, you could lose your money potentially. If you lose your private keys or your passwords, you could lose your money potentially. If you get phished, if you click an email link that's wrong, you could lose your money potentially. It is dangerous. I'm not trying to trick you about that, but there is a lot of potential upside. There is also the possible downside that it could go to zero. It could, even though it's been 10 years and the blockchain's never been hacked, it could be hacked tomorrow. So clearly there's risk, but you have to accept the risk in order to have any chance of a return. So I would say the safest place to probably go ahead and buy Bitcoin, if you were thinking about buying it, is Coinbase. One of the largest Bitcoin exchanges out there, one of the easiest places to buy it. You can create an account pretty quickly and then link it to your US bank account, or even with credit cards, you can start buying Bitcoin. And it's a very easy place to do it. You can even set up what's called dollar cost averaging, where you buy a fixed amount every week or every month or whatever it is, that helps you navigate the changes in prices, because Bitcoin is a volatile asset class. So as the price goes up, you buy less. As the price goes down, you buy more, which is a great buying strategy. But like I said, you have to be careful of phishing attacks, because people who do these type of phishing attacks know that seniors are easy targets. Why? Because you just didn't grow up with technology. It's not your fault, but you have to deal with it. And what they'll do is they'll send you emails that look like they're coming from Coinbase. I mean, it says Coinbase up here, but it says, hey, you need to authorize a new device. You need to give me your account information. Or again, it says Coinbase. It says, hey, give me your email password. Or you'll get a text message that says, hey, Coinbase, amount received 12 Bitcoins. You need to click this link. Or it'll say, hey, your account will be disabled if you do not confirm new terms of service. Coinbase, view terms of service. Any of these buttons you click, guess what? They can have information about your account. So you just need to be very, very careful if you do choose to do this, because if you make these mistakes, unfortunately, you can lose your money without being able to get it back. But one of the safest places to buy it is Coinbase. And then if you choose to hold it for a while, you could look into something like cold storage, which makes it even harder for somebody else to get access to it. Now, some other things worth looking at are certain charts like this, because some people are like, well, the price is up so high. I remember years ago it was down at like $5,000 or $20,000. Now it's $40,000. Well, if we take a look at this chart right here, the Bitcoin Rainbow Price Chart, now granted, this is only right until it's wrong, but it basically gives us an idea of when Bitcoin is cheap and when Bitcoin is not cheap, or when you should buy and when you should sell. And when it's in this bluish greenish area, you should buy. When it's in this reddish orangish area, you could sell. Right now, it's kind of in the middle. And so, well, not a great area to buy. You're not going to get a super steep discount, but you're also not buying the top as well. And chances are, given enough time, even if it stays in this middle area, the price keeps going up and up and up. And not only that, People are like, well, it could be the top, it could be the end. Yes, it certainly could. But if we take a look at another site like cbbi.info, we can see the confidence worth of peak is only 51%. So we could take a look at that over time, see how it compares to previously, and we can see it looks like we haven't really had a peak this time yet. Which brings us to the question of Bitcoin versus altcoins. And this is really it's a tough question because it's kind of like brand loyalty questions. And people will say different things. But historically, before this bull run, this chart is from 2019, we can see Bitcoin in black here versus altcoins, all these other colors. And generally, Bitcoin goes up, altcoins all trend down. You can see pretty much they all trend down. There's a few that bounce back and forth among there, but pretty much they all trend down, which means that compared with Bitcoin, compared to altcoins or Bitcoin, you're better off just holding Bitcoin, which makes it easy. Just dollar cost average Bitcoin, forget it. You do that, you'll probably be set. But a lot of people want to play with altcoins because there's the chance, they're gamblers, there's the chance they could make more money. And especially, I can understand if you're a senior, if you're not ready for retirement yet, if you haven't really saved up that nest egg yet, you want to find that 100x coin or whatever it'll be so you can save enough money for retirement in the next few months, in the next few years. And while that may happen, you might also lose what you have right now. Now, that being said, there is the possibility that you could invest in some other coins. And there are some other coins that I will share with you soon that are worth taking a look at. But before we do, you have to understand the difference between risk and return of your investments. And that's basically here, risk and return in investments. So if we take a look at risk here on the bottom and return on the top, we can see things like cash and cash equivalents have very little risk, but very little return. As a matter of fact, they have a negative return because of all the money they're printing. Then we have short-term bonds, T-bills, things like that. There's some corporate bonds, debt funds, there's gold, real estate, different things like that, index funds, equity funds, derivatives, alternative investments, private equity, and venture capital. So each one of those gaining in risk, but also gaining in potential returns, not guaranteed returns, potential returns. That same large return is also a potential loss. So that's what you need to understand with that risk. Now, if we were to continue that, we would have Bitcoin coming next. Then we would have some large altcoins that I'm going to be talking about next. Then after that, we would have very speculative altcoins coming next. So I would say, and again, not financial advice, but you guys are at a stage in your life right now where it's not really in your best interest to take on more risk, especially with your money. But the least risky cryptocurrency would be Bitcoin, or stablecoin, I guess, but I still don't think that pegging a money to the US dollar is really that unrisky because of all the printing that's going on. But the least risky of the cryptocurrencies would be Bitcoin, and then Ethereum, and then some of the other large alts, and then some smaller ones. So let's say that maybe you have dipped your toes in Bitcoin and you want to find out which other altcoins would be the least risky ones to at least take a look at and see if it's something you would be interested in. Well, probably one of the best ways to do it is to go over to DeFi Llama, and you could check out the total value locked on all chains. So these are big other blockchains that have been around for a while, and they have a lot of money locked up in the chain, which leads us to believe that they're pretty secure because they have all this money locked up in there and they haven't been hacked. So if we take a look at some of these other top chains, there's Ethereum, by far the largest, with $158 billion locked up in it. Next, there's Terra Luna with $18 billion. There's Binance Smart Chain with $17 billion. There's Solana with $11 billion, and Avalanche with $11 billion, and Polygon with $5 billion. So these are some of the other coins you could take a look at and certainly consider investing. But again, with all of these coins comes greater risk. However, there's also possibly the greater potential for reward. And one last thing I wanted to leave you guys with before I go, and this is just another thing for you to kind of think about, is that if you do consider holding Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and you don't want to hold your own private keys, which is an option, you can let somebody else, a custodian, hold it for you, which is almost like letting a bank hold your money, except for that this is not backed by the FDIC. Well, you can earn up to 17% interest on your cryptocurrency by holding it with Celsius. And this is another large company that was created by the guy who created Voice over IP, which is the same technology that lets you use Skype and FaceTime and Zoom and all of those things. The same guy who created that technology. He was also responsible for putting all of the Wi-Fi down in the subways of New York City. So he's done a lot of good stuff for the universe already. Well, he created Celsius that helps you get paid for lending your cryptocurrency. And you can see some of the rates here. For holding stable coins that are pegged to the US dollar, you get 8.5% per year interest. For holding gold, you get 5.5%. For cryptocurrencies, you can get up to 14% in the US or up to 17% internationally, but some other ones 9%, Celsius 5%. Bitcoin is down a little bit lower, 6.2% for the first quarter Bitcoin, and then 3% after that. And for Ethereum, right here, 5.35% for up to 100 ETH, and then 3.52% over 100 ETH. So that's something to think about. If you are holding cryptocurrency, you could actually earn interest on it. So guys, that is all for today's episode. Hopefully answering a lot of questions you had about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Like I said, it is dangerous, but it is something that could be the way of the future. And there possibly is some money to be made in it, or maybe some money not to be lost to inflation. So if you do choose to get into Bitcoin, make sure to do it safely, please, because like I said, these transactions are non-reversible. You can lose your money. You can get locked out. There's stories all the time about people who lose it, and you just need to be very, very careful. And that is pretty much it. If you did enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, click the notification bell. I will catch you guys later. And I just want to say one more time, hey.